Hello dear movie buffs. I don't know if you've noticed, but strangely enough, the visual effects scenes of old movies can be better than the visual effects scenes of new movies. In Infinity War, you may have noticed that Bruce Banner's head coming out of the Hulk Buster looks weird. On the other hand, the train scene in 2004's Spider-Man 2, even though it was shot with much older technology than today, is much more realistic and you can really feel the character being shot and in danger. Look at this scene. He's being pushed very hard. This scene is really incredible. In this video we're going to talk about why old effects could be better and how this problem can be solved. Forget NASA going to Mars. This is definitely one of the biggest problems and it definitely needs to be solved. Before we get to the main topic of the video, I would be very happy if you subscribe to my channel and like my video, because I put a lot of effort into these videos and your subscription encourages me to make more videos. Now let's move on to the video. Do you think this armor of Iron Man is more realistic or this one? The first example is from the 2008 movie Iron Man. The second example is from the Infinity War movie released in 2018. In this scene in Black Panther, the audience in the back looks very strange. It's a very simple visual effect, but it's very obvious that people have been cut and pasted there. The action scene at the end of the movie is a disaster. It's like we're watching a PlayStation game, not a movie. Cameras used in real life have a weight. They don't move light and fast like a soccer ball. They can't. But in the scene, our friends have completely forgotten this. Both the camera and the characters have no weight. The lighting is bad and the action is not realistic at all. And the human eye can feel that something is wrong in these images, even if it doesn't understand exactly what is wrong. Compared to Black Panther, in the Quidditch scene at the beginning of the 2005 movie Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire, both the audience and the Quidditch players look much more realistic. Friends, I'm telling you right away, there's only one reason why the visual effects are good in Harry Potter. The wizards are real and there are no visual effects in the movie. In the movies we are watching someone actually doing magic. I'm kidding, don't believe me. The Lord of the Rings movies that came out in the early 2000s also had much more realistic scenes than the Hobbit movies. So how can visual effects be bad despite the advancement of technology? Are directors getting dumber as technology advances? After all, we're talking about Marvel, who made the crazy scenes in Doctor Strange and an incredibly detailed computer character like Thanos. If you look carefully, there are even beard details. Thanos really looks like he shaves every day. The New York scenes of Infinity War were not shot in New York either. These scenes were a great mix of visual effects and real sets. The Iron Man armor is another matter. It's really surprising that the costume in this scene is all visual effects. I didn't like the armor in Infinity War that much. It's not realistic and there are too many visual effects. There are several reasons why visual effects are bad today, and to understand them you first need to know who does the visual effects. There is no department at Marvel Studio that does the visual effects for the movies. Marvel goes to companies for visual effects and pays them a certain amount of money. Also, studios work with many companies, not just one. For example, the Thanos character in Infinity War was done by Weta Digital. The New York scenes at the beginning of the movie were done by Framestore. The reason why studios outsource visual effects to different companies is that there is no one effects company in the market that can do every scene in today's action movies. If you really wanted to, one company could do the visual effects for the whole movie, but it would take years. The biggest reason why the visual effects are bad is time. Before the pandemic, Marvel was releasing at least 2 or 3 movies a year. Since there were 3 to 4 months between the movies, Marvel could not postpone their movies. In short, when there are problems in the movies, the company cannot postpone. Everything overlaps and visual effects cannot be produced. For example, Marvel gave the visual effects company only 7 weeks for the final scene of Black Panther before the release date of the movie. They were able to produce a scene of this quality in only 7 weeks. Anyway, the company that did this scene is not a bad company. They have done a lot of great scenes for Marvel. The blame here lies entirely with Marvel. The company does test screenings before the movies are released and changes things in the movie based on the audience's reactions. The company can shoot scenes from scratch right before the release of the movie. Marvel resorted to visual effects when Robert Downey Jr. was injured during the filming of Iron Man 3 and could not continue filming. The company found a stunt double to replace the actor, and then replaced the stunt double's head with Robert Downey Jr., which they created with visual effects. Thus, the movie was saved from being postponed. The Infinity War movie. Since some scenes of Benedict Cumberbatch did not match with the other actors, a stuntman was used in the scenes of the man, and the actor's face was added with visual effects. Yes, friends, in short, visual effects have a big time problem just like Cyberpunk. After the passage of time, another big problem is that the number of visual effects companies is increasing and they are not making enough money. The company that did the visual effects for the movie Life of Pi and won the Best Visual Effects Award for the movie went bankrupt a week after the awards were announced. That's basically the situation for visual effects companies. And then there's the studio side. The biggest reason why visual effects look worse than they used to is that visual effects have gotten cheaper, and it's much cheaper to do something with visual effects than to actually do it. A lot of things that used to be really shot in movies or a mix of real footage and visual effects are now just visual effects. I can explain it to you like this. We're shooting Avengers Endgame, but we haven't decided what kind of costumes the characters will wear. Then let each character wear their own costume. Let's put dots on the costumes for visual effects. We'll decide on the costumes later and add the costumes with visual effects. The old Spider-Man movies. The costumes that our friends wore were not given visual effects. Of course there are visual effects when he flies, but when Spider-Man is standing on the ground, we see his real costume. Our current Spider-Man friend also wears a costume during the filming, but then the whole costume is given a visual effect, and I think it makes the costume worse instead of better. He looks like he's wearing something plastic. You feel like his muscles can't move naturally in this costume. The same goes for the Black Panther. He has a great costume that he wears during the shoot. But then they change the costume with visual effects and add lights to it. This image released in the trailer is much better than what we see in the movie, but they made such a decision to light everything up. Yes, friends, in short, the visual effects haven't gotten worse, although I still don't understand why the visual effects of Wonder Woman 2 are so bad. The movie was delayed for 8 months. At least during that time you could have spent some money and fixed the scenes. Anyway, the visual effects are so good that we don't notice most of the visual effects scenes in movies and TV series. Since we only notice visual effects when there are big explosions or when they look bad, you wonder how visual effects can be so bad in 2023. But often visual effects save lives. When the technology used in The Mandalorian becomes mainstream, it will be a big change in the industry. Friends, thank you for watching the video. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. If there is a video you want us to make, we are waiting in the comments. Goodbye.